It is 6 p.m. Monday, November 3rd. I will now call to order this radio meeting of the Liquor Control Board. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will begin with the discussion approval for Howl Beer, temporary sidewalk permit, and discussion approval for Our House Bistro for third-class liquor license.
Yes, well, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. So the temporary sidewalk, Howl Beer already has a sidewalk, but because this is their anniversary, they're selling out-of-state beers on November 8th from 12 to 8. They can't use their location. They can't use their sidewalk nor outside consumption permit. So they had a diagram. I reviewed it with staff, and staff has no concerns. We did take out, they were requesting a fire pit, so that was the only change. So we denied that portion of it.
And is there anyone from Howl in attendance? And I don't think I see anyone online. Any concerns from Chief Lottie other than the fire pit? No? Great. I would like to consider a motion for approval of Howl Beer temporary sidewalk permit for November 8th.
All motion? Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. Motion passes. And next up, discussion approval for Our House Bistro third-class liquor license.
Yes. So they were already approved for their liquor license, but the Department of Liquor and Lottery provides an option that they don't have to pay the $1,095 right on the onset. They can split that up after 6-month intervals. So that's what this is. It's just a continuation of their existing third class, but they opted to pay the second half of the license fee now.
Okay. And no concerns?
Staff has no concerns.
Okay, great. I will entertain a motion to approve the continuation of third-class liquor license for Our House Bistro.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
And we will call motion to adjourn the Liquor Control Board.
So motion? Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We will move on to call to order the regular city council meeting at this point. Any additions or changes to the agenda review?
I believe we have one of the Development Review Board applicants here tonight. So I would move Matthews to be part of the regular agenda. I don't believe there's anyone else online.
Okay. Anything else, Councilor Hurd?
Were we pulling out the tree ordinance to specify some change in language there, or is that good to go?
We will do that as well. So, yep. Just no other changes to the agenda in terms of additions or, okay, so we will be removing item D from the consent agenda, and that will be the new regular item A, and consent agenda item I, and that will be the new regular item D. Okay, all right. At this point, we can move on to public comment. If you're here for public comment for anything that is not already on the agenda, we can take turns having you come up to the microphone. Please state your name, and depending on how many folks we have in attendance, we may limit public comment to 2 minutes. So, is there anyone here for public comment? Okay. Whoever would like to come up first, please come up to the microphone. There are about 4 of you, so whoever would like to come up first.
I'm Pastor Ellen Rafflin of the Winooski United Methodist Church, and this is Linda.
I'm Linda Howe, and I run the Winooski Food Shelf. And we thought you needed an update on how crazy it is over there.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
We are very busy. Okay, I assume all of you know that we're housed on the first floor of the United Methodist Church, and we're 100% volunteer, and we rely solely on donations. We are currently serving, this is a big number, 725 families. At least a third of all the people that are being served are children. And we have about a big problem with increasing prices. So we did our quarterly report of July, August, and September. In those 3 months, we registered 41 new families. 33 of them came in September. We have been slammed. In September alone, we served 174 of those families came at least once, and there are 600 people in those families. Since clients can come one Wednesday where they get pantry staples and both Saturdays where they get a bag of produce and whatever Hannaford store donates, we actually served 258 families with 818 people. So a lot of them come multiple times, especially the very large families.
And we were doing it 4 times a month, but financially, we just couldn't do it anymore.
So we cut it to 3
2
times.
Wednesdays and 2 Saturdays, we had to cut it.
And we're trying to be really frugal. We budget about $5,000 a month just for the food and toiletries, and we have other expenses because we have a walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, just based on our sheer numbers, and the door won't fit a commercial size in. You have to build it.
And the walk-in cooler and freezer was donated by someone here in Winooski.
Yes, it took a few people, but we did it. We had to cut way back on offering protein. This is the big one. We used to offer eggs and meat every time we were open, so that was 4 times. Now we're only able to offer once a month. So a family is getting 1 dozen eggs and some meat once a month. This is really hard on them. And it's especially a hardship for the really large families. And most of our families have 3 or more members, which explains why we have so many children that we're serving. And if it were not for the Vermont Food Bank, we would not be here.
No.
They have been so great about providing free veggies, all kinds of snack foods, odds and ends of free stuff. I still buy stuff from them, like all our the cooking oil, the milk, cereal, that kind of some of the staples that we buy, but they've been super generous. And some of the businesses in Vermont, like Cabot, donated all the butter we need for Thanksgiving. It's like, yes.
Now, we're getting a lot of homeless people. Wow. I had talked to the police department. Do we know the ones are in Winooski, the ones in Burlington? No, it's fluid. So whoever comes, we have to give them food. We just do. Just want you to know that.
We
So
signed a
we're getting
contract.
homeless from all over the place.
Yeah.
But we just have to feed them.
So we can't even afford turkeys or hams, so Thanksgiving or Christmas is really,
Yeah, we decided
really ugly. If people donate, we really need donations, either of funds or turkeys, hams. If restaurants could open their freezers, even if they can't donate anything, would they be a drop-off site?
Right.
Just,
We don't have a drop-off site.
no, there's
Because
not one
where are you
drop-off.
going to put it? Where people could just go and drop off food? And we're not open
Yeah,
all the time.
When J&J Market was on Mal's Bay Avenue,
Yeah, it
we
was
had
great.
a wonderful place.
Oh, he was great. We have no place to do that anymore. I don't know if anyone has any ideas. Where could we drop it off at any time of the day? Where there's a freezer or a refrigerator, that's the problem.
Yeah. Thank you for the updates. Can you share the dates that you are open, the dates and times, days of the week and times of day you're open again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be open this Wednesday from 12 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're open the following Wednesday, so next Wednesday, 12 to 3. And then Saturday, the 15th, we'll be open from 9 to 11.
Okay. And what's the best way, again, for folks to donate? It sounds like financially is, might be preferred.
Right, it's P.O. Box 53 if people are willing to
Okay.
donate.
Great.
And we're all volunteers, even the pastor. We just volunteer our time to
Great.
keep the building open so we can do this.
And the best way for folks to find out more about volunteering?
They can just go to our website,
Okay.
winooskifoodshop.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're a nonprofit, it's
Great.
.org, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for that update. You're definitely serving a critical element of our population, so really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
If I may.
Yep.
Yes.
There's also an online donation option.
Yes.
So, and
Yes.
you can make it recurring too.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. You know about that, don't you, Elaine? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know a lot of communities have created line items for their food shelves. I don't know if you'd ever consider that.
Yeah, me neither.
We can talk about it. We'll get
Thank you
But
very much, we appreciate it.
Timely update, so thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else in the room for the public comment?
My name is Erica Bronze, and I just want to start off by thanking you all for serving on the council. It's probably not an easy job and probably doesn't have a lot of compensation, if any, and I appreciate you all stepping up. And I know we're all working the best we can to make Winooski the best we can make it. I'm here tonight to voice my concern about pedestrian safety on Manceau Street between East Allen and La Fountain, where there is no sidewalk, while at the same time being a thoroughfare for traffic moving from La Fountain to East Allen. Our street is very narrow. We have parking on one side, and the usable space that is left serves as both the street that cars drive on and the area for residents to walk. This squeezes pedestrians into the flow of traffic and the flow of traffic into pedestrians. Our street sees heavy pedestrian use by all of the residents who live on Manceau, as well as the many residents in the relatively new housing development on the corner of Manceau and East Allen. An important safety issue to note is that many more kids are using Manceau Street to walk to school now as a result of these developments, and these kids are walking in the middle of the street to get to school. We did succeed in getting speed bumps put in on the street several years ago. These slow traffic down a bit at the point of the bump, but in between bumps, drivers are still driving concerningly fast. Another point of fear is the intersection of High Street and Manceau, where drivers speed around a blind corner completely unaware of the possibility of pedestrians on High Street. I personally have had to jump out of the way of a car on several occasions at this intersection. We did propose a sidewalk on Manceau Street in 2023, and the survey was done for this project. However, some property owners did not approve of the easements needed to construct the sidewalk, and so the project stopped there. This traffic issue is only going to get worse with the new construction planned for the old armory space on La Fountain, and we need to be proactive. I am here to urge you to reconsider pedestrian safety on our street before someone gets injured or worse. Ideally, we would get a sidewalk in on this section of Manceau Street, and I think there are possible solutions to the easement issue, such as taking over some of the street space to use as a sidewalk or bike path. However, I understand that the resources of the city are tied up with the large construction projects on Main Street, and then we will have the large bridge project to come. And so a sidewalk wouldn't be able to be in the plan for some years. In lieu of the sidewalk, I propose that we install a three-way stop at Manceau and High Street. I understand this is not in the city code to put in a three-way stop for pedestrian safety. It is only supposed to be used to determine right-of-way. But right-of-way is also a concern here, as it is a blind corner and very hard for traffic to see oncoming traffic. The current mirror that was installed to help with this situation broke years ago. Instead of fixing that mirror, I urge you to turn the intersection into a three-way stop. This would be an easy fix and cost very little money. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns and to consider the solution. I hope to hear back from you with your thoughts and recommendations.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment?
Hi,
Hi, welcome.
thank you. Kate Coffey, I live on Manceau Street, America's neighbor. I also am urging the city council to become involved in this issue. We've been talking about it with John Rauscher and the previous zoning person, Eric, and we hear no for this reason and no for that reason and no and no and no, and it is a safety concern. Erica brought up that the school kids are walking down Manso to Richards Park, where the bus picks them up in the street. I've seen a young woman in a wheelchair in the street with her dog. And I was here, not at this meeting, but at another meeting about 3 weeks ago, when we talked about the development of the Armory building and brought up some of these same issues there. We don't have to wait for an accident. We don't have to wait until someone gets seriously hurt. In my opinion, and I could be totally wrong, it feels to me that when I come and talk to the Development Review Board, I don't know where that information goes, because it doesn't seem like there's some sort of cohesive group addressing some of these concerns about positive growth in the city. It feels like as we have these larger developments come along, the city, the streets around them should be able to support them, and they really do not do that. And then it becomes something that the neighbors have to deal with. It also seems to me that, you know, some of the lessons that have been learned along the way in previous projects, like I'm going to call it Great Cedars, but it's not that. It's a multi-house development on East Allen, and that happened a couple of years before I moved to town, where, you know, there were problems with smoking and you know, parking, and then at the end of East Allen and Manso, 2 properties went on, and some of the same things were happening there, and it's just like, who in the city is, you know, learning from these, and why is it the residents, it becomes the residents' responsibility to come and use words and more words and send emails and come to these in the evening, and it doesn't really have to be that way. I feel like that, well, I'm an architect, and I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects, and the development that's been going on here is not smart growth. It is these 0 lot lines without adequate parking. And let me just say that I don't think that it is in our best interest as a city or a state to pave over green land, any land, to build a parking lot. But I do feel like that the city is responsible for letting neighbors know the real implications of some of these developments. And I'm hoping that something positive will come without more letters and more time sitting here. But I will be back on the 20th for the next Development Review Board for the Armory building, and I will say the same things about we need the sidewalk on Manso Street. It is not continuous between East Allen and La Fountain. They also need one on Dion Street. It is not continuous between Corinne and East Allen. It sort of goes halfway between those. And with the increased number of vehicles and people, it is an accident waiting to happen. And I will just say, someone needs to do something about the Dion East Allen intersection. And perhaps one thing that could be done is a stop sign, or making both Dion and East Allen one-way streets to reduce the amount of traffic. And this goes back to what Erica was saying. If there was a one-way street on Manceau, take over part of the driving lane with paint or with curbs, wheel stops just hammered into the asphalt, and that could be a sidewalk for people instead of watching children and people walk and roll their wheelchairs up the street. It's sad, actually, that this is the infrastructure that the city is providing and thinks is acceptable. Thanks for my soapbox.
Thanks, Kate. Any additional public comments for anything not already on the agenda tonight? Anyone on Zoom have public comment? Okay, all right. Thank you all for that. And at this point, we'll move to the consent agenda. Again, we removed item D from the consent agenda to regular item A and item I, and that'll be the new regular item D. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, thank you for that. We'll move to council reports. Elsie, would you like to start?
Sure. The Housing Commission met on Tuesday, October 28th, and started the 2027 Comprehensive Plan visioning and goal setting to look at the vision statement and the 10 housing goals and objectives that are currently in the plan. The Commission's chair, City's Housing Initiative Director and Council Liaison met with a new candidate for the alternate seat, who we are recommending for Council to approve. And the next Housing Commission meeting will be Tuesday, November 25th.
Great, thank you. Councilor Chirkos, do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. Councilor Hurd, do you have any items?
Just the reminder that Inclusion and Belonging Commission will meet next month, so in December on the 17th.
Great, thank you for that. And Municipal Infrastructure Commission will be meeting on November 20th, and that will be a joint meeting with the Finance Commission. We usually have a joint meeting as we lead into our budget season, so looking forward to that conversation. And city updates.
Yes, so please check out our new public meetings page. At the beginning of every month, community members can look ahead to all of our, it's very loud, all of our city council, board, commission, and committee meetings by visiting winooskivt.gov/meetings. A once-a-month news update will go out announcing that month's meetings, and where possible, we'll continue to share meeting information on our other communications channels. We hope this provides a new central location to find out about public meetings. Residents are always encouraged to participate, ask questions, and provide feedback during public meetings. Many thanks to Downtown Winooski and the Community Services Department for another amazing Halloween in Winooski. This tremendous undertaking continues to provide an amazing community experience. A lot of people go into this, so thank you so much, whether you're just joining to help celebrate or carved a pumpkin or maybe 20 pumpkins, and probably lugged a lot more than that. The Vermont Agency of Transportation will perform utility clearance and soil boring work related to the Burlington-Winooski Bridge Replacement Project from Monday, November 3rd to Wednesday, November 5th this year. Traffic impacts and parking restrictions will be in place. Please visit the news update section on our website at winooskivt.gov for full details. A reminder that construction is slated to begin in 2027. This is simply preliminary work that is required. For full project details, please visit burlington-winooski-bridge.vtransprojects.vermont.gov.
Great. And I'd be remiss not to give a note and congratulations to both the Winooski boys and girls soccer teams for competing in the championship this weekend. From what I heard, the girls team had a really hard fight in their game, so congratulations to them for making it to the finals, and to the boys team for I think a 5, Pete? I'm not sure, but they've won 4. All right, 4 times they've made it to the finals and won. So congratulations to Winooski School and all the players and everyone that's been supporting them this season. Okay, so moving on to regular items. New regular item A is for board and commission appointments. If you are here for an appointment, you have the opportunity to come up and speak and introduce yourself. There's no obligation to, but certainly an opportunity to let folks in the community know who you are and just to say hello. So, Matt, you're up first if you'd like. And this is for a Development Review Board seat.
Hello, thank you. My name is Matt. I am a Winooski resident, live right on West Canal Street. I saw the ad for the Development Review Board on the website and decided to apply. I've been looking to get involved for a while now. My background is in housing, work for Champlain Housing Trust right now, worked for Efficiency Vermont for a little bit as well, and just looking to get involved and engaged in the community, as well as fostering a better sense of the community getting involved as well. I think right now, more time than ever, we need to be reminded that all of us have a say in what our city looks like, and I would love to contribute to that. Hope you guys consider me, and thank you so much.
Thanks. Any questions for Matt?
No, I would just like to say thank you so much for applying and for being here tonight.
And Ryan? Yeah, would you like to come up and introduce yourself? And this is also for a Development Review Board application.
Correct. Yeah, my name is Ryan Wade. I am a Winooski resident. I have lived in Winooski since 2012. And like Matt, I saw the application and thought it was an interesting way to get involved with the city. I've been to several city council meetings and planning meetings, and enjoy how accessible the city government is. And this seems like a fantastic way to learn more about the workings of the government within the confines of the Development Review Board, and being part of the growth of Winooski. Like I said, I've lived here for since 2012, and want to be part of growing Winooski and being part of local government.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
No, just again, thank you for being involved and applying in your interest.
Consideration.
And is Margaret joining us? Hi, come on up.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Margaret Hicks, but I go by Maggie. I'm up for consideration for the Local Resources Advisory Board.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm a master's student at UVM in historic preservation, and I happened upon it because I was in contact with members of the board, and they said that there was places open, so I thought, why not? I have previous experience doing archaeological surveys, and just that combined with my interest in pursuit of a degree in historic preservation, I feel like makes me a really good fit. I'm a recent resident in Winooski. I only moved here in August, but I really like this area, and I think it's interesting to see how it's growing, but also it really wants to retain that historic character, and I would like to be a part of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Maggie, I should say. Maggie. Any questions for Maggie?
No, thank you.
Thanks so much for your interest and your application. And then I think I saw Nora is joining us on Zoom. Nora, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Ooh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Nora Doherty, and I'm really excited for this opportunity. I saw that there was a couple open seats per the suggestion of the city council, and I was really excited to get involved. I too am kind of new here. I moved in April, and I have a lot of family here, so I want to really help with the housing struggle here and get my toes dipped into the government. So
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Nora. And that's for the Housing Commission application. So thank you for your interest in that seat as well. All right. Without any further discussion, would anybody like to make a motion to approve all 4 candidates for board and commission appointments for Development Review Board, Local Resource Advisory Board, and Housing Commission?
Motion.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you for joining. Looking forward to working with you. Okay, new regular item B will be the Town Meeting TV Fiscal Year 2025 Municipal Update. Matt, you're welcome to join as well at the table if you'd like. And if you could just introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us. My name is Jordan Mitchell, and I'm the co-director of operations at Town Meeting TV. I'm not sure if joining online is Megan O'Rourke. She was maybe able to attend, maybe not, but maybe on Zoom is Megan O'Rourke, CCTV's executive director. And then joining me is Matt Smith, who is the trustee representative for Winooski, to represent you all for Town Meeting TV. So as some of you may know, CCTV, or Center for Media and Democracy, houses Town Meeting TV, which is the public access cable station that you see here. The CCTV archives are archival collection dating back to 1984, and CCTV Productions, which is our fee for hire service. Town Meeting TV serves not just Winooski, but also Burlington, South Burlington, Essex, Essex Junction, Williston, and Colchester. Services and coverage are allocated based on cable subscriber numbers through what is referred to from here on out as the contract. So Town Meeting TV provides gavel-to-gavel, non-edited coverage of municipal meetings, as you see us here, community events happening out in Winooski, and we also provide media tools, internships, media education, studio space to the community over in Burlington where we're located. We also well, I mentioned our archives, but we save everything that has happened in the community over the last 42 years that we've been in operation, so people can see, look back in history and see everything in video record. So I come today as part of a visit to brief the City Council on Town Meeting TV operations, and also, as we do every year, we request an inclusion in your annual budget, and we also want to hear from how we might serve you and better meet your needs. So talk a little bit about last fiscal year. So last fiscal year, we produced and supported 1,657 programs for all of the municipalities. 351 of these were municipal meeting coverage. For Winooski, the contract stipulates the production of 3 meetings per month and 1 more general Winooski-specific program per month. Last year, we produced 36 City Council, Planning Commission, and DRB meetings for Winooski, and it's always really great working with Paul to figure out which meetings we'd be covering that month between the DRB and the planning, so that system at our end works well. Outside of the regular meetings, you've also hopefully seen us out and about in the community. Last year, we covered 8 general programs. I think that's an area on our end for improvement. We'd love to get, that 1/3% more being out in the community in Winooski, but you did see us last fiscal year at the Halloween pumpkin display, the Fight for Kids Foundation, the Winooski Youth Center grand opening. We visited the Landry Park Greenhouse, the Juneteenth celebration, and some rallies that had happened over in the Winooski Circle. And that kind of just scratches the surface. And so if you feel there are areas in Winooski that we are not covering, we encourage you to reach out, whether that's to me, or you can reach out through Matt, the trustee, of, hey, Matt, we're not really seeing this. Maybe talk to Jordan. And Matt, is there anything you want to add about being a trustee before I talk more?
Sure. Thanks, Jordan. So I've been a trustee for the city of Winooski for a couple of years now, and it's really great to get a front row seat to see how Town Meeting TV operates, not just in Winooski, but across Chittenden County. They are asking us for an additional $1,000 this year, asking us, the city of Winooski, and I think that's a small price to pay, and it's very reasonable, and still puts Winooski below what other cities in Chittenden County are paying. I'm a strong believer in local media. I think is incredibly important and worth supporting with our dollars here in the city. We have local newspapers, we have local broadcasts, we have local digital, but even then it's incredibly difficult to find hyper-local news about your city, about our city. And Town Meeting TV is not just an opportunity to do that, it's a platform for the community to kind of get out there and engage in public conversation, civic debate, things like that. I appreciate catching city council and planning commission meetings on the online archive. I enjoy seeing things like outgoing Mayor Lott's regular updates to the community. I hope that's a tradition that continues to whomever replaces Mayor Lott in the role as mayor. Ultimately, I think Town Meeting TV is a really important asset. We can get a lot out of that, more than I think we are currently getting as a city. And I'm just here to support the ask for an additional $1,000.
Great, thank you. And so kind of to wrap up, to talk a little bit about why we're here, which is funding. So Town Meeting TV is funded in large part by cable subscribers of Comcast, and if you're in Burlington, Burlington Telecom. And then municipal contributions help to meet the increased demand for services, which also help offset our decline in cable revenue. So this year for Winooski, we're requesting an FY27 municipal contribution of $13,000, which is a $1,000 increase from last year. And this would be for general Town Meeting TV operations. So Town Meeting TV and CCTV, we recognize that cable decline has been happening. It declined 9% last year. So we're trying to figure out how else to make up the funding other than these municipal contributions. We've worked on fundraising, grant writing, fee-for-service work, and advocacy. You might know that Town Meeting TV is a part of a collection of 23 public access centers in Vermont. We're a part of a coalition called VAN, the Vermont Access Network, and we've advocated in the State House the past legislative session to receive through the Secretary of State's office base funding of $1.35 million. This started last year when we received $1 million split across all the public access centers, and we'll be working with VAN and the Secretary of State's office to increase that to $2 million by FY28, so continuing to increase each year. We're also expanding our fee-for-service work with CCTV Productions to support municipalities through additional recording and archiving of meetings. So that's the funding piece. Lastly, you see our staff here every other Monday, so I want to thank our field producer, Steve, who's here in the corner, for their contribution to, the public engagement and local democracy piece of what Town Meeting TV does. Work can't be done without the field producers. So thank you. We welcome if there's any questions or comments you have.
Good, thank you. Questions from councilors?
No.
Anything from Councilor?
No, just appreciation for everything CCTV has done.
A couple questions. I don't know if how frequently you post on Front Porch Forum updates or events or promotional opportunities of like the special programming. I don't know if that's something that Matt could do as a trustee on your behalf. If it, I know that sometimes that can be cost prohibitive. Is that something that you've done before, you've considered?
We have mostly with our election forums. So for counselors who've been through an election cycle, you know that in February, Town Meeting TV invites counselors in for the election forums, and then we host a election results show on Town Meeting Day in March. So that's one area where, and even this past year, right, I asked the trustees to kind of post on Front Porch Forum of, in your municipality, these are the, the forums Town Meeting TV was hosting and the dates and how to tune in and participate. So we have for our election stuff, but I say we haven't really expanded it to more general programs. So I'll take that suggestion back to our team. Thank you.
And I may need you to restate the, was it a funding decline of 9% or a viewer decline of 9%?
Cable revenue decline.
Cable revenue,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So funding from the cable companies. So cable companies take a small percentage of their cable subscribers and give that to public access. So that was a 9% decline.
Okay, I gotcha. How are you seeing trends in viewership?
Good, more. We find our increase, there's increased demand for both our services of attending meetings as well as people watching the meetings after they happen. So not just live as it is now, but a day or two, a week or two. Sometimes I'll get an email months later, hey, I'm looking for the Winooski DRB meeting from 4 months ago. I was the applicant, or I was in the public comment looking to learn more about it or watch it again. So I do find there's an increase in that ask, and people can watch both on YouTube where it's live, but then it also later gets uploaded to our website. And we've been working the last year on making a new website that's hopefully more searchable, which that should be coming out early 2026. It's been over a year in development now, but part of my role is also like managing the archives. So when people reach out asking for programming, I work on them with that, and there's definitely been an uptick as people want to go back and search.
Great. Yeah, I know that I spend a bit of time on your YouTube channel and looking through the archives myself, so it is a valuable resource for sure. I'm also curious about conversations that have come up with the trustees about language access. I mean, that's certainly something that we consider quite a bit here in the city. As we pursue our own language access plan, and just curious what conversations are happening at Town Meeting TV relating to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something we're also trying to consider. And so there's a couple different avenues for folks who watch on YouTube. YouTube auto-generates captions. We're experimenting with having a third-party service do like better captioning, but we found it wasn't quite accurate enough. So there are auto-generated captions in a couple languages on YouTube, but we recognize that doesn't serve the whole community, and I know not the whole Winooski community. We do, though, now, for people who still watch on cable, have closed captioning, which is where you can turn it on and off on our cable channels. So for the folks who do have Comcast, they can find it there. As for our website, we recognize our website is very outdated, which is why we've been working on a new website, and that's something we're considering as we're building our new website, but we recognize our current website does not really have language access at all. Anything on how it's come up with the trustees?
I know we've talked about the captioning and hard of hearing, but obviously there's multiple language access that needs to be considered. Some of those fairly unique to Winooski, so not necessarily a concern, I don't want to say shared by our other trustees, but not as much of a priority for them. I think the Vermont Language Justice Project has been discussed as a partner in some of this work, but definitely something that we'd love to see addressed for Winooski that we'll be working with Jordan and the team on.
Great, thank you. I think that's all I have for the moment. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for the ongoing support that you bring to our community. So really appreciate it. Great. And thank you, Matt, for your time on the board as a trustee.
Thank you to the council for their time.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the community or anybody online before we move on? Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the new agenda, regular item C for Treasurer's Report, year 2025, Q4, and fiscal year 2026, Q1. And we'll have our city treasurer join us. And for our new counselors, if you would introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm John Affinito. I'm the city treasurer.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I'm here to present some key takeaways from the fourth quarter of FY25 financial reports. I've also, this is kind of a weird quarter because I've also provided an analysis for our Q1 FY26 forecasts. So for this year, so since FY25 numbers are final, and at this point FY26 forecasts are our best guess since we're so early in the year, I'm taking the liberty to focus on FY25 final numbers just to reduce the confusion just for the purposes of this presentation. Also, last year I skipped the FY24 year-end numbers in my presentation, and after I felt like I never gave the year closure. So also for myself as well.
You won't hold it against you.
Yeah. So as a reminder, specific details to support current forecasts for Q1 FY26 can be found within the respective financial report on the City of Winooski website. So please bear in mind that, again, this is a quarter one report, and it's guided by the financial activities we've realized so far, and therefore are subject to change as we progress through the year. So moving on to FY25, the city's general fund posted a final surplus of 0.7 million with an ending net fund balance of 3.3 million, which is an increase year over year. For reference, the previous fiscal year's ending net fund balance was 2.6 million. And then just the calculation of how we got there. So general fund revenues totaled 11.6 million, approximately 600K above budget. The city's primary source of revenue, property tax, generated 8.1 million this fiscal year, FY25, coming in below projections. This shortfall may be attributed to many factors, but part of that attributed to property valuation appeals submitted to the assessor's office in FY25. Despite this dip, some revenue streams outperformed expectations, which offsetted the loss. Notably, interest earnings from the city's investments doubled the FY25 budget target, reflecting continued strength in investment income. Additionally, parking ticket revenue provided a boost to collections, driven in part by the city's increase in meter violation fines. So those two things offsetted some of that loss. On the expenditure side, general fund expenses totaled 10.9 million, finishing 100K under budget. So pretty much on budget, I'd say. As in FY24, the previous year, the city experienced cost savings from staff vacancies across several departments, which reduced salary, fringe, and other employee-related costs. However, these savings declined over the course of FY25 as vacant positions were gradually filled throughout the year. For instance, both the police and fire departments had multiple openings going back to this time last year. And as we progressed throughout the year, were gradually filled. And as those roles were filled, projected savings decreased, resulting in a modest year-end underspend relative to budget, so that 100K under budget. Overall, the city of Winooski closed FY25 with a net gain across all its funds, the general enterprise and special revenue funds. Throughout the year, the city successfully managed two major ongoing infrastructure initiatives, the Main Street Revitalization Project and the Abenaki Garage Development. Debt proceeds were used to offset these costs, and these balances were included within the year-end reports, which can be found online. Looking ahead, the city should continue to monitor these projects closely as they're ongoing. And I believe the Main Street Revitalization Project is expected to be completed this spring 2026, which is great news. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you for the report. Any questions from our counselors?
None. No. Thank you.
Any comment from our finance director, Angela?
No, so the numbers are final. They are being finalized into our financial statements for the auditors. So FY25 did perform fairly well. Hoping that we're going to stay on target this year. We're keeping a close eye, particularly in the parking fund with the Abenaki project. We were already going to be very tight there, but definitely keeping our eye on things.
Great. There hasn't been mention, I know Q1, we're still very early in seeing some final numbers that we can have any confidence with, but with the government shutdown, I don't know how we're factoring that into forecasts, and if that's something that would even come your direction, John.
That's a really good question. I know the forecasts, well, they were provided a few weeks ago, and obviously this is a moving target. I don't know, that may be a better question for Angela if any of those factors were included.
Sure. So we don't generally budget for federal receipts for the most part. The few that we do have for the major projects, we are still seeing payments come in from USDA currently. The only ones that are pending, we do have potential alternative funding sources for, but they have given extensions for reporting on those specific grants, and that in particular is the Department of Justice, Edward J. Byrne JAG assistance grant. That extension has been given through the end of January to file that reporting.
Okay. And then just to remind me how any changes with, obviously there's a lot of questions about health insurance premiums that wouldn't come into play until FY27 for us?
So
Or-
when we budget, we do include a mid-year escalator on our health insurance premiums. So any increase that we're seeing for 2026 was included in our estimated budget projections. I generally use a 13% increase, and we are well within that for our estimates for FY26.
You're always on top of it, Angela.
Try and anticipate as much as possible.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And thank you also for just the very wise and intentional investments and how well those have performed the last couple years since making that move. So it shows that it's working as hoped and as intended. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we're working very closely with our banking partners. We are seeing decreases in the interest rates that we can earn in our short-term investments, and we are looking to potentially shift to a money market fund, which would be more liquid and potentially have a higher rate of return.
Great. Anything else noteworthy that we haven't asked or that you haven't shared already? All right. It wasn't a quiz.
I can think of.
All right. Any questions from members of the public or online? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Great
Have
to
a good
see
night.
you. All right. Our new agenda item C is discussion approval, introduction on to update the municipal code for horseback riding. Community Service Director Ray Coffey will be presenting.
Yeah, thank you for having us up. So, bit of context and background. We were approached back in March by the developer for the hotel at Lot 7D, Doug Nettie, who's here in the room with us tonight, about the possibility of doing horse-drawn carriage rides through the Cassavant Park as part of the theme, Sugar House theme of his hotel. So we did a site walk, looked around. Sorry, I'm getting like a feedback on this. I don't know if you're hearing it, but.
Yeah. Well, I know the headphones on.
Okay.
I can adjust it with the headphones on.
But anyhow, there it goes. I'm trying to figure out how we might accommodate that. Our current ordinance, Chapter 16, expressly prohibits horseback riding within the city limits. So obviously that, unless that changes, is sort of a stopping point for this conversation. So I think in looking at some possibilities with Doug and with my team, feel like there's a possibility for us to move this forward, but first step would be to consider an ordinance change to allow for that. Our recommendation here is not to designate a bridle trail, which this is all terminology I'm learning as a non-horse person, but instead to allow horseback riding by permit. I think that gives city staff a little bit more control over the when and the what that's happening within that park versus just designating a trail that could be used in theory by folks with horses at any time or place. So this would, I think, be a solution for us to, again, have a little bit more management and control of what's happening where and when. I think one thing for me and for my team that we really looked at was also just the maintenance of that parcel and how we might manage that. I think obviously horses and carriages are impactful. So in doing some research with Vermont Trails and Greenways Council and Forest Parks and Rec colleagues and looking at the USDA's design guideline recommendations for trails, SurePack is sort of the preference for a surface material, with gravel being another option, both of which hold up really well, have pretty low maintenance costs over time, and I think would provide a safer surface material for horses to be on as well. One other wrinkle of Cassavant, which is great, is that it's a very ecologically sensitive parcel, and so we wanted to make sure before we got too far down the road that we were looking at that as well. So had a phone call with I want to make sure I get their titles correct here, so bear with me while I scroll down. Our, let's see, Regional River and Floodplain Manager, spoke to her on the phone back early summer and discussed the flood hazard area, which comes essentially right up to the edge of the southern edge of the meadow. And that, when you get into that space, starts to create some permitting challenges. And then was able to meet last week, not with our regional wetland ecologist, who I have since heard back from, but she has a very busy workload at this time of year as they're finishing up field work, but was able to meet with a community member who has a background in wetland permitting and did sort of an informal, unofficial walkthrough. And again, got some feedback, as mentioned in the memo, that basically departing from the meadow would be challenging from a permitting perspective. For the most part, when you're building trail through wetlands, at this point, the recommendation is to build boardwalk, which when you're trying to have horses on it, is challenging. And for the most part, that's a 5-foot width. So that's really not workable for a horse-drawn carriage. So with all that said, and I shared this information with Doug as well, I think we are, as we're considering any possibility, looking at staying within the meadow, which is already an impacted area, and would still want to consider having trail work done prior to permitting any of this type of use. So I think some additional concerns, that have come up certainly, and just to say aloud here, potential conflict with off-leash dogs is something that we are aware of and is addressed in this memo as a concern. In response to some questions that came through from council earlier, I think candidly that is an area where we struggle to manage as it is. So it is something that we are aware of as a potential conflict, but I think trying to work through the permitting process, if we were to get to that point, to really make sure there's good communication with the public in advance and during any of this type of activity to discourage off-leash dog use would be a big step. I mentioned the maintenance piece, which came up, which again, I think we could deal with by some front-loaded trail work and then also some permitting requirements down the road. And then one other piece that did come up both at our commission review and in responses from 2 of the council members was just public access versus exclusive hotel access. Again, conversations with the developer so far have indicated a willingness to have the balance and make this something that could be available to the public. I'm imagining on a fee base, but still appreciate that willingness to consider that. So with all that said, our recommended adjustment to the ordinance is a lot of preamble for like 3 words of change, but would be basically to have the new language read, horseback riding shall be prohibited except with special written permit issued hereunder. And that language mirrors a couple other sections of the Parks Ordinance chapter that allows, for instance, camping. It's prohibited except where allowed by written permission. So this just really mirrors that language that exists in other parts of that chapter.
Okay. Yes.
If I could provide some additional context.
Yes.
So I went to a Vermont Town and City Managers Association conference where all of us are struggling with housing. And we invited a panel of housing developers to come and talk about what municipalities could do. And very interestingly to me, one of the main pieces of feedback was just thank your housing developers. And which was very interesting because obviously it's very expensive, very difficult, hard to forecast and all that. But as you probably know, municipalities actually have zero ability to build housing ourselves. That's not a function we have. We don't have the money to do it, on and on. And so this piece of feedback makes some sense to me. I want to thank Doug for providing us some housing through this project. We are a development partner on this particular parcel. So not only are they developing housing, but also a hotel, which this community has wanted for a long time. Same thing, we cannot build hotels. And there is a benefit to this community in terms of the local options taxes that would bring and bringing more visitors to the area as well. So we are partnering to build this garage, and Doug's been doing a lot to get this project to happen, and without him or somebody like him, we would not have been able to do it. So just want to put that as a background leading up to this conversation, very specific to horses.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ray? Sorry, go ahead.
I have a couple of, that's okay if I start.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I was wondering if staff could give their recommendation. I noted in the document itself is that staff recommend that we formally introduce this and set a public hearing, but I am not hearing specifically staff recommendation to do this ordinance change. Currently, what I'm seeing is a lot of potential time and a lot of potential money and possibly backburnering projects that I think are, or I would personally put as a higher priority. So I was just wondering if staff might explain kind of where their recommendation lies with this.
Sure, I can fill that, and if you want to fill in if I miss anything. Yeah, so I think the ordinance change really is kind of an important first step in this conversation. And so I think as I've tried to map out in the memo and then also in some responses to council questions earlier today, you know, I think just because we make this update to the ordinance is not a mandate to staff to then approve permits. I think without this change to the ordinance, there's a bunch of work that doesn't really make sense to put time into because you can't have horses in the city at this moment based on our ordinance. So it's a little bit of, pardon the pun, but like cart before the horse.
I
right?
thought about it already.
I know, I had to. So I think that is, from my perspective, why we are recommending this ordinance change, with very much an acknowledgement, and I think hopefully captured in this memo, that there is work yet to do once that, if that goes through. I think that the permitting process development is going to take some time. I think that looking at the trail stabilization and that piece, you know, in partnership with Doug, is going to take some time. I mentioned in this memo and have been really candid with Doug as well, like, this is not a budgeted project for us. We don't have capital funds set aside for this, so I think we are likely going to be looking at how do we find outside funding, are there grants that we could be looking at as a possibility. So I guess to answer your question, Aurora, I think the recommendation to make the ordinance change is really a first step in this process, and it feels like steps 2, 3, 4, 5 don't really make any sense to get into until step 1 occurs. You know, certainly we've put some time into this up front, as you've seen, done some research, had some conversations, but I think without I think at least the signal from council that there would be an appetite for this either now or at some time in the future, we're kind of on a pause before we put a lot more time into this.
Understandable. I appreciate that additional context. And this might go right into, we haven't made it to the step yet. But I'm just wondering if you got any type of even very bare sense from our lawyers. Specifically, one of the answers to, I think, a question from some of my fellow counselors was around how our insurance would cover this. And that to me really stood out as a potential cost that I don't really see the city having budgeted for, and I don't necessarily currently feel that would be the best use of our funds. So just trying to get a sense of that too, of like what would the cost be of like legal liability and insurance?
That's not, it's hard to answer because our expenses are really, other than the deductible, are really the aggregate experience. So our increased costs per year out of our, not our fees, what's it called? Out of our premiums would depend on the overall pool and then how much we're contributing that and accidents actually happening and us having to pay out. So I'm not sure that we'd have a great answer for that. I don't know how many other municipalities in Vermont allow this sort of thing that we could refer to or our insurer could refer to.
Yeah, there are at least a handful of other communities that have equestrian activity allowed. So it wouldn't be the first time that, you know, in theory, VLCT has seen this, but yeah, it's a tricky question to answer. And I think on the legal front, you know, again, I have not reached out to legal because there is a cost every time you pick up that phone. And so I think, again, prior to getting a signal from council, like, yeah, this is something we would consider, then I think we would start to make those phone calls, thinking about the permit development and the liability language and those types of things. I think those are sort of down the cascade a little bit as we work on this process.
I have a suggestion, Bryn. So, this is at the end of it a policy decision because there's things that we would be putting off. I do think council should strongly consider at least allowing the next research steps to happen because Doug has said that this is part of his strategy for making his hotel unique. So I'd suggest that you cover all the remaining questions, have all the other questions asked in council tonight, and then give Doug a chance to talk about it.
Thanks. Councilor Hurd, did you have anything further?
Yes, I do. I actually want to ask kind of an immediate follow-up of what other communities, or do you have off the top of your head some of the other communities that have this? Because I am concerned about the fact that, you know, we are the most dense little city in the state and the area, and just kind of thinking about that reality with the reality of horses, plus the reality of our floodplains, are just kind of trying to add all those things up in my mind.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head which other municipalities in the state are doing equestrian work. Most of my communication has been at the state level, so with Forest Parks and Rec, so that's happening on state land, not municipal land.
Right.
Certainly can look into that, and I think it's fair to say there's not another spot like Winooski where this is happening. I think it would be unique in that regard. Certainly more rural in nature is my, if I had to hazard a guess, I think it would be hard, you'd be hard pressed to find another community where there's horses in the downtown. With that said, I think, you know, again, I wouldn't be bringing this here if I didn't think we could make it work. I do think that there's a possibility that this could work well. The other piece too, and this was discussed a bit at our commission meeting, just thinking about the tie back to our Parks and Open Space plan. You know, in a general sense, trail improvements in Cassavant was part of the recommendation from that plan in 2020. So I think this is an opportunity for us in partnership to think about getting some of those trails developed and stabilized in a new way. And that will have not only benefit for this specific use, but also generally for the public that's using that on a regular basis, which I think is a good thing.
All right, thank you. I think that's it for me for now.
Okay. Other councilors? No. In relation to access, I think you used the term SurePack gravel. How accommodating is that to folks with mobility challenges?
Yeah, so I am not an ADA expert, but my understanding is that I believe is an allowable surface material for an ADA compliant path. So that is a positive thing. I think that, I'm not sure about crushed gravel without fines, again, in terms of learning as I go, but the SurePack I think does pack down more solidly to allow for that accessibility. And Aurora, you in your work may have more insight into that.
Yeah, not off the top of my head, but that would make sense to me.
If we do, if council does move forward with some additional research steps, I think it would be helpful to understand the surface types that can be accommodating. That may add a little bit more insights and benefit to the greater community.
Yep.
So without knowing an answer right now, that
Sure.
might be something that's valuable to look into.
Yeah.
Things that, you know, we've already raised concerns about just the conflict in use with the dog parks, as well as complaints. So I think, you know, it would be also beneficial to understand what the intended time seasonality of the use would be and be permitted, as well as any management of complaints after hours or on the weekends. Just anticipating that there is a likelihood for complaints, hoping that there's none, but again, just anticipating that and how a plan of action would be to address that and resolve it, hopefully amicably. Similarly, just thinking, what gets pushed aside from our strategies and priorities, but also, want to appreciate that you noted, Ray, the, parks improvement, plan, and, wanting to just revisit that in relation to the larger, strategies and priorities conversation. And then I'm losing my train of thought, so I'll go on to something else. I would be curious if there was any way to get some estimates on potential benefits for local options tax. So in the event, we have this asset, this feature that is unique and unusual, I think, at least outside of Shelburne. What could be the benefits to the downtown business area, depending on timing, also with construction projects and bridge closures. It's a forecast, it's not perfect, but what potential greater benefits there could be to the downtown community by broadening the uses for the park for this purpose. And I think it sounds like the cover sheet is just proposing to move this forward for a public hearing. So we wouldn't be approving the ordinance changes tonight, but it would be a motion to allow this to your point, Elaine, to move to the next step of a public hearing. Am I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any further questions from the members of the community?
Can I ask one very small clarifying question?
Sure, Ryan, if you would just come up to the, it's hard to hear otherwise.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice catch.
I just have one small clarifying question, just out of interest. When you're talking about putting in the sure path, are you talking about doing that from where the hotel would be to the meadow? Or are you doing?
So this is specifically talking about the perimeter of the meadow.
Okay.
The path that's going to be down from the hotel to the meadow is getting a bunch of work done as part of that hotel project.
Okay.
And Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is going all the way from the hotel to the meadow entrance presently.
So from our hotel, we're constructing 120 foot.
Sorry, could you walk?
Yeah, so from our hotel, we're constructing a 20-foot wooden boardwalk, as you all know, that brings us to Casabon Park, the area where Velco filled that area that's all elevated there in the meadow. And so the vision is that the horse-drawn sleigh ride or carriage would go around the perimeter of the meadow and then back through. So that's the vision. I think it's going to be an incredibly unique and desirable experience for the residents of Winooski, for whether you have guests in town or celebration of a birthday or something, having dinner at our rooftop restaurant or the waterworks and making an evening of it. I see that happening several weekends during the summer, maybe a couple in the fall and a couple in the winter. It's not something that we see happening all the time. If it's wildly popular, maybe we come back for permission to do it a little bit more. I've spoken to Ray about contributing, with building this Sure Pack, which is a really a great surface for biking, for walking, and I do think it does work for accessibility. So, with this new bridge we're building, I see the accessibility being really good coming across the bridge, across this path, and back around, which you really can't do that now.
Right.
And, I also think, I shared with Ray about a dog park in South Burlington called, I think, Wheeler or Wheelock Park on Dorset Street, where they have a fenced-in area. That's something I spoke to Ray about, maybe we could help contribute with the city and having a dog park that actually is more contained, because there's a leash law in Winooski, but the dogs do just go a bit free there. So we're looking to continue to have a partnership with the city with improving this path, creating a new experience for the city to make it a bit unique and more desirable, and also to work with Ray with this dog park, which we're also interested in helping out with. So it's part of our experience, and we're trying to do something, pretty exciting here. We're looking for the city to be a partner.
Thanks, Doug. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Hertford.
I do want to name that I am a little concerned about, or a little hesitant to move to a public hearing without more details from our wetlands expert. I appreciate there's a community member who was able to provide some of that feedback, but that does feel important to me to kind of have that detail before we have that public hearing. And I know we could have an additional public hearing afterwards, but also considering the cost of doing the warnings and everything. So I just wanted to name that I have that bit of concern, but also totally understand why our expert kind of hasn't been able to fully weigh in yet.
Do we have any sense of when they would be available?
I don't. I mean, I'm certainly happy to push on that, and and I don't know. I will trust your collective process. I think if there was an interest in potentially setting a hearing date, I'm happy to make that a priority between now and then to get that formal feedback from the state. And then if there's a point at which we don't have it prior to the meeting, potentially we could delay that item. I don't have a great sense not having talked to her, and I just think their field season in the spring and the fall tends to be really busy. Some of that may depend on how soon it gets cold and things start to freeze as well, because they can't do as much field work once that happens. So it's a little tricky to say for sure when that would be.
I wonder if council wants to do a conditional setting of public hearing, because we have the benefit of there's a whole month before your next meeting on December 1st. I mean, almost a month, not quite. So that gives Ray more time to try to get feedback, perhaps, and we don't have to warn it until how long before?
For a public hearing.
Yeah, 10 days.
Oh, 10 days. So it gives them, like a couple weeks to try and get that feedback. You could warn it, or you could say staffer to warn if we get feedback in time.
Is there a reason, we're meeting twice in December?
Yes.
Is there a reason why we would not want to move it to the second meeting?
I'm looking at Doug.
That would be fine. That would be fine.
Okay.
Just to back to the, we know that because of the elevation, it's not in the floodplain, but in terms of wetlands, this area again was elevated several feet by Velco years ago for a work area. So they brought in lots of gravel. It's a solid base. If you've ever been out there, it was, was constructed for a platform for building the power line areas. So, and we've done some wetland areas in that area, so maybe Ray and I can put our wetland people together. So I'm not, this is a long way of saying I'm not concerned about any wetlands there. The material is the structural material that they put in there, and it drains well.
And then you mentioned, and I don't know that this was in the memo, unless I read past it during my late night Sunday reading. The potential for a fenced-in dog park, was that something?
No, that was not. And I mean, we had a conversation about it. I think this was just trying to focus on this piece of it. I think I'd have to look back through the parks plan and specifically address, I would want to kind of be referential to that in terms of how this park gets used. I do think there's a lot of off-leash dog use in that area. There's also a lot of other things that happen in that area that is not that. And so I want to just be sensitive to addressing all those needs in that space. So that's partially why I did not include that in there. I think that could be a solution to the potential conflict issue, but I need to do a little bit more homework on that before I'm ready to say, like, yeah, that's the way.
And Doug, would that be conditional for you? If the city were to move forward with a fenced-in dog park or not, would that be something that would be necessary in order?
No, I don't think it's necessary. I just think it's a great amenity for every, for all the residents, the new apartment folks that will be living, there's such a population there, and there's a lot of dogs.
There are a lot of dogs.
And a lot of communities just create these great fenced-in areas where it's almost like a community gathering spot where everyone comes and lets their dogs run, and I see it incredibly popular on this dog park that Ray and I know of on Dorset Street. So I was just thinking it's a great, there's a lot of land down there to do something similar. And I mentioned to Ray that we'd be willing to participate in helping to fund some of it.
Great, appreciate that, Doug. Are there additional questions from members of the public? Online or, doesn't look like anybody in the room. Don't see any hands online. Okay, any further questions from council?
No.
And Elaine, can you check me on dates? So December 15th would be our, December 8th is our second meeting.
Right.
Okay. Would anyone like to move to, let me get the language. Possible motion to introduce amendments to chapter 16.12A and set a public hearing for December 8th, 2025.
So motion.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. All those that abstain?
I was just wondering if we wanted to put the conditional in there.
Sure. Would our counselors comfortable with entertaining a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so adjustment to the language, motion to introduce the amendments to chapter 16.12A and set a conditional public hearing for December 8th, 2025.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I did mention to Elaine, at some point, I'd love to get the council to have a tour of the hotel. The roof's on, the windows are going in, there's a lot to see, and maybe we even take a walk around the property. I'll
Thank you,
leave
Dave.
this with you today, or tonight. You can look through it.
Oh, thank you.
And these are renderings of our interior of the hotel, and you'll get a,
thank you.
You'll really enjoy taking a look.
Thank you,
at
Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
So thanks
We'll
for
give a
your
look through
support.
those.
Thank you.
All right, so we will be moving on to new agenda item E. I've been saying it, my alphabet a little bit wrong, but thanks for bearing with me. The former consent agenda item I, approval for proposed changes to Municipal Code, Chapter 29, the tree ordinance. Do we need an introduction or anything?
I'll just say that I did upload the wrong version, and so the version that is on the website, is it on that now? Paul, did I ask you to replace that?
No, you did not.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm sorry, you did not.
Okay. So we do have a version that actually addresses the comments that were made in the last council meeting, so you could adopt it with those changes, and we would have it ready to go.
Okay. So let me just get to my notes, so just wait a moment.
There was some appearances of the word public tree instead of shade tree, which is the update.
I know, I
from
just
the-
wanted to get the
Of course, yeah.
specifics, because I think I wrote it down. Okay. So for the tree ordinance update, just wanted to clarify the preferred language would be to replace public with shade tree in a number of locations. Article 2, table of contents, 29.03, 29.04, 29.05. Article 4, sorry, let me say that again. Article 5 in the first sentence. Article 6, 20.01 in the second sentence. Article 7, 29.03 in the title, 29.04 in the title, and 29.05 in the title. And that simply would be to, again, replace public with shade tree, as Councilor Hurd noted at our meeting on September 15th, 2025. So unless there's any other questions or changes needed, I would entertain a motion to adopt the changes to the Municipal Code 29 for the tree ordinance.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, thank you so much. Any additional, we are at the end of our regular items. Are there any other items that we need to cover at this time? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you
Aye.
so much. Have a great night.